everyone. Hi again. I am Theresa and I'm here to give you some helpful hints for your photography lesson. So today I actually brought in a few examples of photos to look at to point out to you what helps make this a stronger photo and how it is telling a story. Especially with the photography that you're taking today, the most important part is that you want to be able to relay your story through your image. So I'm going to swap over and we're going to look at a few examples that we will go over together. So over here we have a picture of a group of people, as you can see, and in this one it was photographed in what's called a power pose. So a power pose is when you are low on the ground, as our photographer was, and shooting upwards towards your subject. This makes your subjects look taller, and it also helps make them look more important. So in this picture we want to show the importance of everyone in this photo. So we shot down low, looking up. Over here, this is a fun example of when you're out photographing a subject, how you can actually relate with the subject that you're photographing and make it look candid all at the same time. We actually, believe it or not, posed this picture. The kids were running around having a ton of fun that day for DCH, but it was very, very hard to catch, especially if you're shooting with your phone. You really want to plan images like this. So my youth photographer actually took the students and did a countdown, and she said, by the count of 3, I want you all just to run towards me. So if you want an action shot using your phone, you want to make sure that it's daytime, very bright sunlight, otherwise your picture may come out blurry. And you also just work with your subject. You have to coordinate with each other. So like I said, she did a countdown, 3, 2, 1, go. At go, this kid started running, and then she just took picture after picture, and then we picked the best one out of the series. Over here, if you are looking to photograph a building, sometimes you have to find a way to make a building appear interesting. This way, we made this building look interesting by actually creating layers. Layers can be very important in photography. You have your foreground, your midground, and your background. In this one, we have our foreground, which is the plant that you see in the left-hand corner, followed by the midground, which is all of the greenery, and the building is the background. But because the building is the strongest in focus, it's actually still the hero of our picture, but we're able to, with our composition and having a foreground, midground, and background, really highlight it where your eye gets drawn to the building. Over here, again, this is another example of having a foreground, midground, and background. Also a play with what's called low depth of field. This is something that you can accomplish with either a DSLR or even with your iPhone shooting in portrait mode. I don't know if you've all noticed, but if you're playing with portrait mode, how either a background or a foreground is out of focus and your subject is in focus. It's because it is automatically using what's called a low aperture. And this image was shot with a very low aperture where all of our plants are out of focus and our eye is then drawn to the sign for Delaware Center of Horticulture, which is in focus. Over here is another example of shooting subject. As you can see, he was also shot in the power position, which is from down looking up, and also we interacted with him. So this was during a cleanup day for actually a park right in Brandywine Creek here in Delaware. And they were collecting all the weeds and we were having fun. And it's important, have fun with your subjects. If you're looking to show a positive light on a person or an event, it's very, very important. Relate to your subject, relate to the person, and smile. So you wouldn't believe how much a smile gets you and how people warm up to you quickly. So with the gardeners that we were working with, my young lady went up, she smiled and said, "Can I please take your picture?" And then she asked him just to throw the weeds in the air. And it actually turned out being a very fun photo shoot, just starting with a simple smile, introducing of herself, and working again together with the person that she's photographing. Over here is a group of kids that we photographed. Sometimes you actually want to get on the same level of your subject. So instead of being down looking up, just this one we had to bend down at the knees so that we were at the exact same level as the students that we were photographing. This is a perfect another example of foreground, midground, and background, where we wanted to go from the perspective of the little girl, and we wanted to show what the little girl was looking at, but through the camera. So that was accomplished by shooting behind her, where she was still in view, but you could see that the focus is not on her. The focus is exactly what she's staring at, which is the globe. Here, it's an example of when you are photographing an event, like let's say you want to highlight a positive event that's happening out in your community. Get involved. Again, relate to your subjects, get right in there. With this one, it was a parachute tent. If they have something, get in there with the kids. Do not distance yourself from your subject and from what you're photographing. Be involved. Here is an example of how lighting can also tell your story. So our lighting goes directly to one girl who's dancing. And so she was the highlight of this picture, and that is what we wanted to showcase. So we wanted to show her, and that was done by lighting. So when you look at the picture, always think about like, where is my eye being drawn to and why? In this one, our eye is being drawn to her because that's where the light is focused on. Here's an example of using, again, a low depth of field. So if you're using either an iPhone or a DSLR camera, on your DSLR, you can go to aperture priority and pick the lowest aperture possible. On your iPhone, you would switch it over to portrait mode, and you can actually have your subject hold an object, if you want to photograph an object, pointing out towards you, and then that becomes the focus, and then everything else becomes out of focus. Over here, this is an example of a picture, simple picture shot with an iPhone, but it's during what's called the magic hour. So if you wanted an overall scene picture, or again, even photographing a building or somewhere out on the streets, the magic hour is right before sunset. So the hour before sunset is when you would want to be out there taking pictures. And so then thank you for going around and looking at a few pictures with me. I really appreciate it. My biggest advice is just please check your focus. I teach photography every day to kids, and whenever I go over them, sometimes they even have the best composition, but the focus is off. So as you're going through taking pictures, please, please, please check your focus. If you're using portrait mode on your camera, sometimes it does do something a little bit funny. I don't know if you ever noticed it, but where your hair, like loose hairs, are out of focus and it starts to make it kind of look fake. So you just want to pay very close attention to that and put a lot of thought into how you're going to compose your picture and tell your story. I would say it's not something that you can just go out and shoot without thinking about it first, or even with a small idea. Really plan it and decide how through one image can I tell this story. If you guys need any help as you go along with this project, you please feel free to contact me and I will aid you through the way. Thank you.